Hello and welcome to The Homemade Songwriter. My name is Austin, and if you're just checking out our channel for the very first time, first off, welcome, and secondly, we are all about all things songwriting and music on this channel, so if you're anything like us and you love music, don't be afraid to smash that like and subscribe button for more weekly content all about songwriting. We love songwriting, we hope you do too, and our ultimate goal is to help you do it better. In today's video, I'm going to try to put into practice a little bit of what we preach on this channel because currently I am suffering from writer's block. I can't seem to sit down and write a song to save my life. Now, we give out all kinds of tips and tricks on this channel for how to defeat writer's block, and in fact, if you're currently suffering from writer's block like me, there's going to be a link in the description of this video with 30 free songwriting prompts to help jumpstart your creativity and get you writing again, which I highly recommend you check out because I've started there as well. But in today's video, I've decided to run through an exercise which I'm hoping is going to help me not only shake loose some of those creative cobwebs, but also identify where the breakdown is happening in my own songwriting process. You see, I had this hunch about what's happening, which is that I have these lyrical ideas, but I seem to be fresh out of melody ideas, and I'm not the world's greatest instrumentalist. I'm really more of a lyricist, and so when I feel confined by my guitar, my ability to play the guitar, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll switch to piano or something else just so I can, kind of get into a different environment, or I'll play electric instead of acoustic. Or sometimes I'll do a co-write, and that kind of forces you to get into a creative, mindset, but also you're sharing ideas and kind of bouncing things off of another person, and so that's very helpful as well. But since in this room today it's just me, I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in on the stuff that's going right to try to fix the thing that's going wrong. And what that means is I'm going to try to write a song from start to finish, only lyrics. I'm going to try not to write anything from a melody standpoint. I'm going to try not to play anything on the guitar or like hum any melodies. I just literally want to sit down and basically write a poem that I can later put to music. So we'll see how that goes. But for the sake of the exercise, I'm also going to establish KPIs, which stands for Key Performance Indicator, which essentially means what I want to do is break down the songwriting process a little bit, and instead of having the ultimate goal be I want to write a song from start to finish, get out of this thing, have lyrics and melody and the story just all tied up with a bow, and if it's anything less than that, then I've failed. I think as songwriters, it's pretty easy to get into that trap of thinking that we have to produce, we have to walk out with a finished product no matter what it takes. And a lot of times that can be good for you, but sometimes it can also set you up for failure. So I'm going to set up some bite-sized goals to try to help me get there. That being said, I have 3 KPIs today, and KPI number 1, as I already mentioned, is to write a song using only lyrics first. KPI number 2 is to write at least 2 verses and a chorus. And KPI number 3 is have my song pass part 1 and 3 of the Litmus test. If you're not familiar with the tool we developed called the Litmus test, I will link to that in the description of this video as well to help you write better songs. So without further ado, let's write. Now the first idea that I had that just popped into my head was the phrase, take it from me. I don't know why, that just kind of came into my head this afternoon, so I'm going to just start with that phrase. No other idea, just take it from me. I usually like to write on a notepad. I like to write with pen and paper, but just for the sake of the exercise, and especially since I don't have the tool of the guitar to aid me, I figured I'd do it on my keyboard today just to save time. So I have the lyric, take it from me, you don't always know what you've got till it's gone. And I don't know where this is going to head, but I kind of like that. It seems like a good central idea for the song. So we'll see if it's more of a chorus idea or more of a verse idea as it plays out. I was going to say, with the grass always greener, but I think that's not going to fit with the rhyme scheme, so I'm saying the grass might be greener. Take it from me, you don't always know what you've got till it's gone. The grass might be greener. This actually might be a pretty good lyric. I said, take it from me, you don't always know what you've got till it's gone. The grass might be greener, but soon as you cross the street, she'll move on. That's kind of a neat lyric, actually. I like that. I feel like with this metaphor, it's sort of all about the grass being greener so far and not appreciating what you have. So to run with that metaphor, I'm trying to think of a way to cap that off or really drive it home. Take it from me, you don't always know what you got till it's gone. The grass might be greener, but as soon as you cross the street, she'll move on. And try as you might, once the gate shuts behind you, it's harder to open again. And it's like once you've squandered something that you loved, or that you took for granted, then I don't know, what's the end result of that? It's like going with the lawn metaphor. I almost feel like there's something about rose-colored glasses in there, and rose bushes and like thorns. I feel like there's something there. This is kind of interesting. I don't know what. This is all just like popping out of my head from this gardening metaphor, but so far what I have is, take it from me, you don't always know what you've got till it's gone. Grass might be greener, and that's sort of like, grass might be greener, but soon as you cross the street, she'll move on. Try as you might, once the gate shuts behind you, it's harder to open again. And I'm gonna have to swap out again with something else, and here's why. That last line I have, and the roses that stole you, you can't seem to hold because you couldn't see the thorns. And I feel like that's sort of the idea, is like the grass was greener, it drew you out of your own yard in this metaphor. So it's sort of like that idea of tying that together. It's like, but from your side of the street, all you could see was the green grass and the rose bushes, but once you got to it, you can't actually seem to get to the roses because from there you couldn't see the thorns. Try as you might, once the gate shuts behind you, it's harder to open again. I like where this is headed. I just need to find something that rhymes with thorns better. Torn rhyme. Forlorn. Boy, that would be a word to use in this one, right? It's kind of poetic. I don't know, it could work. Sometimes you can't think about it too much. You just gotta write the thing that comes to your gut, and you can always go back and rework it later. So what I'm just gonna roll forward with, try as you might, once the gate shuts behind you, you always find yourself torn. And the roses that stole you, you can't seem to hold because you couldn't see the thorns. Because from the other side, you couldn't see the thorns, maybe. I have to see if that works rhythmically. And the roses that stole you, you can't seem to hold because from the other side, you couldn't see the thorns. That's kind of how it feels like it should be going. Take it from me, you don't always know what you've got till it's gone. The grass might be greener, but soon as you cross the street, she'll move on. And try as you might, once the gate shuts behind you, you always find yourself, you always find yourself, you always wind up battered and torn. I feel like it's going to be easier to say. And then you can sort of really land on that last line, because from the other side, you couldn't see the thorns. Like, sort of give it a lot of breath in the middle there. That feels like a chorus to me. I feel like that's the central idea for this song. It's funny because sometimes I feel that way, and then I get into writing a verse, and I'm like, this is more like a verse because of this verse idea actually turned out to be a really cool chorus. So we'll see what happens next. I feel like the best way to drive this metaphor home is to wrap it into a story, some kind of narrative that leads into this metaphor. But I do like the roses thing, so I'm going to stick with that for now. I'm trying to think of a good other flower. I have this idea. I feel like lilies is kind of cliche though. Chrysanthemum. That'd be a little bit hard to say in a song. I wonder if this is on my mind because it's springtime here in Texas and there's just flowers everywhere. I think I'm going to go with bluebonnets because it's such a Texas thing, and I feel like they're wild and they just pop up here in Texas every spring. I mean, they're the state flower of Texas, and so every spring it's like all of a sudden, overnight, it seems like you're driving, your normal route, and then all of a sudden there's just a field of blue everywhere around you as you drive. And it's not just that it's like Indian paintbrushes and all this stuff, but ultimately, like when you come across like a field of bluebonnets, it's just breathtaking because it looks like you're looking at the ocean or something. And it's just this field of blue. So I feel like the wild nature of that and sort of how cool that is, I'm gonna roll with that. I think I have a good idea for how I'm gonna tie this stuff together. But I just have to get there. I just wrote this, I'm kind of going back and forth on these lyrical ideas, but like I said, I like the bluebonnets thing. I feel like the wild nature of them showing up, and here in Texas too, with wildflowers, it's like the environment has to just be perfect for them to show up, which is like context you might not necessarily have for this lyric, which is something to consider as well. But ultimately, it is a wildflower, right? And so what I have right now is nothing you did caused the bluebonnets to bloom, but when they showed up, you were consumed. And it felt like springtime would never be the same. And I remember this line from Romeo and Juliet, a rose by any other name would still be just as sweet. So I feel like there's something there, that rhyme, springtime would never be the same. Something about the rose and the name of the rose, so that the rhyme scheme is there and to introduce the roses, We'll see if we can get there. I'm just kind of like word vomiting my thoughts right now because I'm trying to figure out how to get to this, I feel like sometimes if I can just get it all out and then I can whittle it down. It's sort of like a sculptor, who's like working with like a block of marble and just like has this big thing to chip away at. It's like sometimes it's easier to just get all the ideas out there and then whittle them down than to try to like nail it right as you write it out. We'll see if I can get there. Wildflowers wither and disappear for no reason except their color fades with the ending of the season. Nothing you did caused the bluebonnets to bloom, but when they blossomed, you were consumed, and it felt like springtime would never be the same. But wildflowers wither and disappear for no reason, except their color fades with the ending of the season, and a rose is sweet no matter what her name. Ooh. Nothing you did caused the bluebonnets to bloom, but when springtime came, they blossomed just for you. The forbidden rose. I kind of like that. But wildflowers wither and fade for no reason, except their color disappears at the end of the season. And the forbidden rose is sweet, no matter what her name. That's pretty good. I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I'm like right in the middle of this, so it's like you could get tomorrow and look at this and be like, what was I even talking about? But I don't know. I think that's pretty solid for the metaphor. Okay, so here's a pre-chorus. And though the wildflower's roots go strong and deep, you're taken by the fickle fragrance drifting down the street. Take it from me, you don't always know what you've got till it's gone. The grass might be greener, but as soon as you cross the street, she'll move on. Try as you might, once the gate shuts behind you, you'll always wind up battered and torn. And the roses that stole you, you can't seem to hold, because from the other side you couldn't see the thorns. I think that's pretty good. Let's try verse 2. This happens to me all the time, where I write verse 1, chorus 1, and I've so thoroughly said what I intended to say that I can't figure out where to go to elaborate on that idea in verse 2. So I guess we'll see. We'll see what it came up with. Roses are hands down the most popular, flower I would have to imagine in terms of, gifts and, apologies and, nice gestures. So it's kind of funny to picture how, the rose, takes a lot of people. It's something that, we were fascinated by. So I think that, kind of the idea that I have is you might give up these bluebonnets, this beautiful natural thing that you just were gifted with, in pursuit of this rose, only to find that when you get to her, she's got a line. There's a line of people waiting for her, and you're just one of a number of people who encountered the fragrance of the rose and were taken by it. So that's kind of what I'm rolling with right now. What do you guys think of this? By the time you get to the rose, you have to wait in line, because just as you were taken, she does this all the time. And no matter how you beg, you'll never make her stay. Turning back, you chase the evening down the street, praying when you get there your blue bonnets will greet you, but the summer heat's already taken her away. Okay, so I think I've got something figured out here. Let's see how this cadence feels. Nothing you did caused the blue bonnets to bloom, but when winter left, they blossomed just for you, and it felt like springtime would never be the same. But wildflowers wither and fade for no reason, except their color disappears at the end of the season, and the forbidden rose is sweet no matter what her name. And though the wildflower's roots grow strong and deep, you're taken by the fickle fragrance drifting down the street. Take it from me, you don't always know what you've got till it's gone. Though the grass might be greener, as soon as you cross the street, she'll move on. And try as you might, once the gate shuts behind you, you find yourself battered and torn. And the roses that stole you, you can't seem to hold, because from the other side, you couldn't see the thorns. By the time you get to the rose, you have to wait in line, because just as you were taken, she does this all the time. And no matter how you beg, you'll never make her stay. Turning back, you race the sunset down the street. Praying when you get there, your bluebonnets will greet you, but the summer's heat's already taken her away. And though the wildflower's roots grow strong and deep, you traded them to chase the fragrance down the street. Take it from me, you don't always know what you've got till it's gone. Though the grass might be greener, as soon as you cross the street, she'll move on. And try as you might, once the gate shuts behind you, you find yourself battered and torn. And the roses that stole you, you can't seem to hold, because from the other side, you couldn't see the thorns. I can't decide how I feel about this, but I will say I think the metaphor is pretty strong, so that's a good sign. And ultimately, I don't think I'll really know how much I like this song until I put it to some music, which was what I'll be trying to do next. But let's revisit my KPIs. So I've written lyrics only to start. I did finish 2 verses and a chorus. and actually 2 pre-choruses. And now it's time to run my song through the litmus test. So, the litmus test stands for, is my song lyrically interesting? Does it have thematic melody? And does it employ universal storytelling? And because I'm not writing the melody, I can only run it through parts 1 and 3. So let's see if it holds up. I would say, yes, this is a lyrically interesting song. I use some words that I've never used in a song before, which is kind of neat. And the whole song is metaphorical, which automatically, in my book, makes it more interesting because you have to sort of decide what it means for yourself, which is kind of cool. Now, as far as universal storytelling goes, I don't know that everyone has experienced this, but I would say there's probably a good portion of our population that has experienced giving up something stable and good and beautiful that naturally occurred to pursue something that is not necessarily a good fit, but that attracts you away from this stable thing, only to realize that, it wasn't actually this beautiful thing that you thought it was, or perhaps that it is, but you just don't have a chance with it, and so you've lost this other thing, this beautiful thing, and it's too late to go back because she's been taken by somebody else. We sacrifice the thing that's right in front of us because, as humans, we're always looking over our shoulder for the next best thing. It's just kind of human nature. And if we can just learn to appreciate the beauty of the bluebonnets, we might not be so, convinced to chase the beauty and sweet fragrance of the rose. Alright, well, I hope you found this video at least somewhat interesting and useful. Hopefully it was helpful to sort of get a little bit of insight into my writing process and to sort of see that it is possible to write a song using only lyrics. Now, the next phase of this, like I said, I'm going to try to write a melody to this song, and so we'll kind of see how that goes. But in the meantime, my word of advice to you is keep writing. Keep writing. Even if you're suffering from writer's block, just dive in. Do whatever you have to do to, write a piece of this, or a part of a song, or write the lyrics only, or write a melody only, or bring somebody else into the writer's room with you. Because ultimately, that's the only way to push through the writer's block. And honestly, just by doing this, I already feel like, oh man, I've got other ideas just from starting this song today. So, that being said, if you found value here, please like and subscribe to our channel. Every like and subscribe helps. Share it with your friends who are songwriters. We love songwriting, and we hope you do too, and we just want to help you do it better. We've got tons of content on this channel with tools and tips and tricks and funny sketches and us writing songs together and all kinds of stuff. So take a deep dive, check it out, let us know what you think in the comments below. And as always, keep writing, and we'll see you in the next one.